I worked myself to the bone to earn money, only to end up with terminal cancer, lingering on for a short while before I died. Before I died, my husband held me in his arms, wailing and crying, "Darling, if you leave, how will our daughter and I survive?" Yet, in less than 3 months, he married a new wife. The day before the wedding, he sent our daughter to relatives in the countryside, wiping away tears as he said, "Sweetheart, don't blame your dad. Dad just wants to start a new life." He drove away without looking back, his daughter crying as she ran after him. Even when she fell hard to the ground, he didn't stop to glance her way. I was filled with regret, had been completely wrong. No amount of money could compare to living well and giving my daughter a home. Fang Jiming's second marriage was kept very low-key. Apart from getting the marriage certificate, they only had a meal with relatives from both families and didn't even post about it on social media. After all, it had been less than 3 months since his first wife, me, had passed away, but in private, he was quite extravagant. He bought that "One Love for Life" diamond ring to propose and added the new bride's name to the house I had left behind. They even sent Duo to relatives in the countryside, not even allowing her to stay at her grandmother's house, because the new bride was pregnant, and the former mother-in-law had to take care of her, leaving no time to look after this granddaughter. I understand the phrase, "the tea cools once the person leaves," and I was mentally prepared for it, but I never expected it to cool so quickly, so heartlessly and ungratefully. After I left, my parents, in order to ease Fang Jiming's financial burden, voluntarily gave up their inheritance rights, only asking him to raise Duo well. As it turned out, all of this only gave him more capital to start his so-called new life. Watching Duo crying and calling for her mom and dad in the countryside, the resentment in my heart grew day by day, night by night. Finally, one day, heaven heard my grievances and sent me back to a year before my death. The moment I opened my eyes, my sweet, soft daughter threw herself into my arms. "Mom, you're finally awake." My daughter looked at me with concern, her large, grape-like eyes filled with sorrow. I remembered the same look in her eyes when Fang Jiming sent her to the countryside. "Dad, do you not want me anymore?" Fang Jiming fled in panic. I struggled to prop myself up. "Mom is fine, don't worry, Duo." At this point, the physical pain had become quite severe, but I still chose to ignore it at the time. To fight for the year-end bonus, I didn't dare to take time off. Instead, I worked overtime every day. This time, it was a sudden, sharp stomach pain in the morning, so intense that even painkillers couldn't suppress it, and I passed out right at home. I got up, helped Duo change clothes, and had a simple breakfast, kissing her little cheek. "Don't worry, my dear, Mommy will work hard to stay healthy and grow up with you." After dropping her off at kindergarten, I hailed a taxi straight to the hospital and, without a second thought, checked off every possible test item. The crucial gastroscopy was scheduled for a week later. In the meantime, when a client called, I politely informed them that I was at the hospital and suggested they find someone else to discuss business with. When life is hanging by a thread, money becomes an external possession. Keeping it would only let a man spend it on himself. It's a pity I realized this a bit too late. In the evening, after picking up Duo and arriving home, I had just finished cooking dinner when Fang Jiming returned. It had only been a little over 3 months since I last saw him, yet it felt like a lifetime. No, it truly was a lifetime apart. After washing his hands, he eagerly approached me. "Honey, you've worked hard. Let me serve the dishes." Suddenly, I remembered how he looked at the wedding banquet, just as eager, raising his glass to the bride's parents. "Mom and Dad, you've worked hard. From now on, we are one family." I coldly moved away. Duo, it's time to eat." At the dinner table, Fang Jiming picked up a piece of green vegetable for Duo. "Maka paka, here comes the green and healthy treasure." Duo, quickly take a big bite." Duo giggled, opening his mouth wide to eat the vegetables. Nodding happily, "Daddy, I want more." Watching their affectionate interaction, the image of Duo falling and crying as he chased after the car flashed before my eyes again. My heart felt as if it were being pulled by a rubber band, tightening and loosening, swaying left and right, leaving me with no appetite at all. "You two take your time eating. Mom is going to lie down for a bit." I walked slowly back to my room, leaving the cheerful laughter of the father and daughter behind me. A completely different Fang Jiming. Which one was the real one? Jiayue, Mom said she wants to stay for a few days. She misses Duo. If you have time, maybe you could take her to the hospital too. Fang Jiming came from a single-parent family, and the money for his college education was saved penny by penny by his grandmother. Relatives at home would occasionally remind him to be filial to his mother. He indeed did just that. he never refused any request his mother made. My mother-in-law is getting older and often suspects she has a serious illness, insisting on going to the hospital for checkups every few days. I was the one accompanying her almost every time. There are many new tasks recently, and I really can't take time off. Honey, I'm sorry to trouble you. It's the same old story. Suddenly, I thought of the popular phrase these days, outsourcing filial piety. Jemming, I'm afraid I don't have the time. The company has been very busy lately, and I haven't been feeling well either. He was slightly taken aback. This is the first time I've refused him in the past, considering he's a civil servant while my work is more flexible. All matters concerning the old and young at home have been my responsibility. Can Jessen accompany her to see a doctor locally? My mother-in-law also has a daughter who married locally and lives very close to her mother. It's not easy to say this. In our hometown, it's always the sons who take care of the elderly. He hesitated, a flicker of dissatisfaction passing through his eyes. Many people are already criticizing me for not having my mother live with us. Now, if you're unwilling to accompany her to the hospital, I don't have the time. You could take leave too. With the economy being tough, the boss is starting to track attendance, and I can't be as flexible as before. He grew impatient. After all that talk, you still don't treat my mother as your own mother to honor and care for. I closed my mouth, too exhausted to argue with him. We both turned over to sleep at the same time, backs facing each other. I shifted closer to the edge of the bed, not wanting to be near him. I'm quite puzzled. Such a filial son, unwilling to take leave even when his mother is sick. Why could he stay with me in the hospital during my final days in my past life? Could it be that he held such deep affection and loyalty toward me? I immediately dismissed the thought. A man who remarried so quickly couldn't have had much genuine feeling for me. When I woke up in the morning, Fong Jemming had already prepared breakfast, and Duo was all set and ready to go to school. He handed me a bowl of millet porridge with a smile. Honey, drink more. It's good for your stomach. It seemed he had already forgotten about last night's argument. I took the bowl, accepting his apology in a way. Fong Jemming's good temper was one of the reasons I had chosen him in the first place. Every time we argue, even if we don't reach an agreement, he'll rein in his temper and coax me. Honey, for the sake of this bowl of porridge, could you pick up Mom from the train station tonight? I have a friend's dinner that I can't get out of, please. I was taken aback, not having time to react. Sweetie, are you finished eating? Dad will take you to school today. He hurriedly took Duo and left the house. I knew that, in his mind, this matter was already taken as my agreement by default. Given my temperament, once my mother-in-law arrived, I couldn't bear to leave her unattended, as long as he kept claiming he couldn't get time off. In the end, the task of accompanying her to the hospital would still fall on me. Having experienced a life-and-death situation once, I've come to understand some things more clearly. It turns out that between him and me, all he ever conceded was his attitude, while I was the fool who actually gave in and compromised. My mother-in-law is the kind of person who speaks softly and is extremely polite. In the car, she thanked me several times, saying, Jemming has good taste, marrying such a wonderful wife like you. Every time you accompany me to the hospital, everything is perfectly arranged, and you even ask the doctor all the detailed questions for me. Jiayue, I'm going to have to trouble you again this time. I felt too embarrassed to speak up after what she said. I'm sorry, Mom, but this time I can only have Jemming accompany you. Our company has been really strict with attendance lately, and I can't slip away. My mother-in-law was taken aback by my words. After a long pause, she finally replied softly, oh, okay then. After arriving home, I picked up Duo from the neighbor's house. It was Mom. Duo seems to have a bit of a fever. Please keep an eye on her. After settling my mother-in-law, I quickly took Duo to the hospital. While accompanying my daughter during her 4-drip, I finally found a moment to buy a cold rice ball for dinner. My stomach ached faintly, and I suddenly realized I was living the same life as before, busy and rushed, not treating myself like a human being. I picked up the phone and dialed Fong Jemming. Duo is sick. Come to the hospital and help me. My stomach hurts. I can't hold on anymore. It was a bit noisy on his end, with the chaotic sounds of men and women. Honey, I'm not free. I can't get away. Can you hold on a little longer? You can rest well tonight, and I'll take care of Duo. He then hung up the phone without asking a single question about our daughter's condition. Actually, I knew that what Fong Jemming called a dinner gathering was just him drinking and boasting with a group of his buddies. Although he is an enviable civil servant who has secured a stable job, he works in a low-income government department, earning only 1/3 of my monthly salary. Because of this, he often jokes self-deprecatingly, I may have a good reputation, but you're the one who earns more in this family. I'm practically living off you." To ease his mind, I not only handed over my salary card for him to manage but also took on the majority of the household chores, giving him the money and time to socialize and chat outside. Over time, I became the pillar of the household, while he gradually faded into the background, acting as if he were invisible. I sighed, faintly understanding why he was in such a hurry to remarry. This overgrown child I had nurtured had long since lost the courage and ability to independently shoulder family responsibilities. It was already midnight by the time we returned from the hospital, and my mother-in-law was surprisingly still awake. Jemming drank too much and is still insisting on getting up to take care of Duo. Jiayue, you should rest early. I'll take care of Duo. I shook my head. No need. Duo is used to me staying with her when she's sick. You go and rest. My mother-in-law didn't argue with me. After hesitating for a moment, she said, Jemming is so drunk, how about you accompany me to the hospital tomorrow instead? So that was the real reason she had been waiting for me. My heart grew cold. I can't easily take time off. You should ask Jemming instead. Her expression darkened, and she silently returned to her room. Just like her son, she didn't ask a single question about Duo's condition. I couldn't help but wonder if her constant talk of missing Duo was just as insincere as her son's words. It wasn't until 5 in the morning that Duo's fever finally broke. I could finally close my eyes for a while. There's a regular meeting this afternoon that I can't miss. I didn't expect to have only slept for a short while before. The door was banged loudly. Jiayue, get up. You need to accompany Mom to the hospital today. I couldn't even open my eyes, pulling the blanket over my head, not wanting to deal with anything. The door was opened, footsteps reached the bedside, and someone forcefully yanked the blanket off me. The curtains were also drawn wide open, the midsummer sunlight shining on my face, and I hurriedly covered my eyes. Duo was woken up by the noise, probably still not feeling well, and she started crying. I quickly stood up and hugged her, turning a cold face to Fang Jemming. Get out. Fang Jemming, who had been shamelessly grinning just moments before, now flushed with anger. He pointed at me. Shen Jiayue, what kind of attitude is that? I didn't even glance at him. Sweetheart, don't cry. We won't go to school today. In a little while, Mom will take you to Grandma's house. Grandma will make you big wontons. Duo's tears turned to laughter. She loves my mom's big wontons the most. I helped Duo change clothes, and we both freshened up a bit. Fang Jemming probably noticed the fever patch on Duo's head and remembered what happened last night. Standing nearby without daring to make a sound, seeing that I was about to leave, he humbly tugged at my clothes. Honey, why not have some breakfast before you go? Mom has already made it. My mother-in-law stood silently at the doorway, cautiously saying, I forgot to remind Jemming this morning that Duo was sick. I didn't even spare her a glance from the corner of my eye, and walked straight out the door. With Duo, I stayed at my parents' house for a few nights, until the day of the gastroscopy. Fang Jemming called me a few times, but I didn't answer. He sent a WeChat message saying his mother had been checked and there was nothing wrong, that she had already been sent back, and asking when I would come home. Every time it's the same outcome, and then after a month or two, it happens all over again. Is she here for a checkup, or to spy on my life with Fang Jemming? The gastroscopy was scheduled for 8 in the morning, and my brother accompanied me, perhaps because we're twins. In my heart, he is the person I trust and rely on most in this world. He never really liked Fang Jemming, thinking he was too pragmatic and hypocritical. I never agreed with that point, joking with him, little brother, you're a prodigy from the gifted youth program, never having to worry about making a living. Fang Jemming and I are just ordinary people among the masses, so naturally, we live a bit more pragmatically. Looking back now, one of the benefits of high intelligence is seeing through appearances to the essence. He had long recognized Fang Jemming's cold-blooded ruthlessness. It was just that I, as someone caught in the middle, refused to believe it. Before going in for the checkup, I tugged at his sleeve. I have a feeling the results won't be good. Whatever you do, don't tell Mom and Dad. Let's figure it out ourselves. My little brother looked at me in shock and nodded firmly. Sis, don't worry, I'll be here with you every step of the way. You just focus on getting better. Unanimously, we all excluded Fang Jemming. When I woke up, my younger brother was by my side, helping me up. His eyes were a bit moist. The doctor said it doesn't look good, but we'll have to wait for the biopsy results. Let's prepare for hospitalization first. Don't think about anything else. After leaving the hospital, I went home alone. Fang Jemming came home from work, and I got straight to the point, telling him I might have cancer, with a probability of over 80%, he froze in place, then nervously grabbed my hand. Don't scare me. Did something show up in the hospital checkup? I nodded slowly. There's something in my stomach, not good. We'll have to wait for the biopsy report for specifics. Fang Jiaming's eyes reddened. Honey, don't be afraid. If you're sick, we'll treat it. Don't worry about money. If we don't have it, I can borrow. Not at all. The money in my salary card is enough to cover the treatment expenses. Money in your salary card. Fang Jiaming's expression froze, as if he hadn't quite processed it. I asked him in return, where is my salary card? You said you were better at managing finances than me, so I gave the card to you, and I only took a small allowance each month. Over the years, there should be around $1 million in there. He unconsciously swallowed hard. It's there, don't worry, the medical expenses are enough. I'll go make some calls, see who has hospital connections, maybe get a specialist recommendation or something. He hurriedly ran to the balcony, smoking a cigarette, dialing one number after another. In my past life, he did the exact same thing, calling every friend he knew, all to find me a better doctor. Back then, I was quite moved, thinking he really did care about me, but this time, his expression just now left me a bit puzzled, so I quietly walked over to the window near the balcony. Mom, Jiayue is sick and needs money urgently. Hurry up and give me that card back. What? My salary card is with my mother-in-law. This didn't happen in my past life. Or, maybe he gave it to her and I just didn't know. Early the next morning, he only said that his mother wasn't feeling well and had to rush home. I didn't press further and hurried to the bank. It's kind of funny. Throughout my past life and this one, this was the first time I had ever checked the transaction details of my own salary card. Usually, Fang Jiaming had me turn off the bank's text notifications, saying it was a waste of those few dozen yuan. I won't touch this money, I'll save it for Duoduo's education. If there's really an emergency, I'll definitely discuss it with you first, dear. The previous records were all quite normal. The monthly 3,000 yuan living expenses for my mother-in-law were deducted from my card, which I had agreed to. Fang Jiaming said his income was all used for household expenses, so I casually agreed, thinking that since we're a family, it doesn't matter which card the money comes from. But just a few days ago, 300,000 yuan was swiped from the card. He didn't mention a word to me about what this large sum of money was for. After some thought, I changed the withdrawal password for the bank card but left everything else untouched. I was curious to see if he could get the money back today when he returned. When Fang Jiaming handed the card to me, I stared into his eyes and asked, where did you get this card back from? Has the money inside been used? He tilted his head slightly, avoiding my gaze. I got it from Mom. I transferred 300,000 to her these past few days. He lowered his voice. You know how it is. Mom's always felt insecure without a partner, and with her son not around, she doesn't have much money. The other day, when you were rude to her, she couldn't sleep at night, worried we wouldn't support her in the future, so I let out a cold laugh. Fang Jiaming, whose fault is it that your mother doesn't live with us? Back when I asked her to help with the postpartum month, she said her health wasn't good and she couldn't stay up late. Later, when I invited her to help take care of Duo, she came for 3 days and then left, saying she hadn't taken care of a child in years and was out of practice. From birth until now, Duo has been raised with the help of my parents. I know your mother just doesn't want to tire herself out. I understand, and I won't force it. All these years, I've never held it against her. Instead, I've played the role of a dutiful daughter-in-law alongside you, giving her a monthly allowance of 3,000, fulfilling almost every request whenever she visits. Just this once, when I couldn't take time off to accompany her to the hospital, she has to make such a fuss about taking my salary card and pocketing 300,000 for her retirement. Isn't this just her way of putting me in my place while scheming to get her hands on my money? Fang Jiaming, do you take me for a fool? Fang Jiaming jumped up with a start. What do you mean? What kind of person do you think my mother is? I've put this money in a fixed deposit for her and will absolutely not use it. When you took my salary card back then, you also said you would never use it without my consent. I shouted this sentence with all my might, tears uncontrollably streaming from my eyes. Fang Jiaming took a deep breath, irritably running his hand through his hair. Stop losing your temper. You're a patient yourself, yet you can't even control your emotions. Consider this money as a loan from you. I'll pay you back later. Fine. I wiped away my tears and hoarsely made my demand. Write me an IOU. Fine, my dear lady, I'll write it. Seeing how unrelenting I was, he picked up the pen resentfully and wrote it out in one go. Here you go. He had already adjusted his emotions and spoke to me with a cheerful smile. The IOU was folded into a heart shape, held in his palm as he handed it to me. Following the usual routine, I should have known when to stop and let this storm pass, but this time, I just wanted to be relentless. Fang Jiaming, I have a question for you, and I want you to answer me honestly. If I were seriously ill, would you take care of me? If I died, would you remarry? He seemed startled, his eyes turning red. Honey, don't talk like that, I'm scared. Without you, how could Duo and I go on living? I repeated the question. If you did remarry, would you abandon Duo? I didn't dare to blink, afraid I might miss even the slightest change in his expression. He forced a smile and patted my head. Don't overthink it, Duo only has one mom, and there's only one Shinjiayue in this world. But his eyes were evasive, unable to meet mine. He was guilty. 3 days later, I received all the reports and the hospital admission notice. Fang Jiaming and his younger brother took me to the hospital, his hands trembling as he confirmed the surgical plan with the doctor. I asked my parents to take Duo away and look after her, so I wouldn't have any worries. I'll ask my boss for leave. If he doesn't approve, I'll just quit. I nodded. Sure, it's not like we're making much money anyway. He stood there dumbfounded for a long time before stammering. Later on, you won't be able to work either. I need a stable job, don't I? I sneered inwardly. Fang Jiaming and my mother-in-law both took pride in him being a civil servant, and deep down, they looked down on my job, yet in reality, they couldn't do without the money I earned, truly wanting to have their cake and eat it too. The surgery was scheduled for the 3rd day, with many tests to be done beforehand. I hired a caregiver to accompany me. Fang Jiaming only took leave on the day of the surgery. I suddenly recalled the final days of my past life, when he stayed by my side every day, tending to my most intimate needs, cleaning up after me, wiping my body, feeding me, refusing to let any caregiver intervene. Over the course of several months, both of us had lost a great deal of weight. I was sick, and he was exhausted. In that past life, his transition from deep affection to utter indifference took less than 3 months. I'm quite curious about how this life will unfold. Only after crossing the boundary of life and death did I realize I had never truly understood him. The results weren't great, but they weren't too bad either, whether it's in stages or early. The classification isn't very favorable, the kind that's prone to recurrence. I had already prepared myself mentally, so I wasn't too disappointed. My parents and younger brother couldn't accept it and were wiping away tears nearby. Fang Jiaming cried even more sorrowfully than they did, to the point where my parents had to comfort him instead. Jiaming, we're really sorry. Jiayue will be relying on you from now on. If there's anything we can do to help, just say the word, and we'll do our best. Don't worry about Duo, we'll take care of him. As for Jiayue, please look after her. Fang Jiaming covered his face and vowed earnestly, I will. So he only stayed with me for 1 night before going on a business trip. His reason was quite convincing. Jiayue, from now on, I'll be the one supporting the family. I have no choice. Anyway, there are caregivers, and your brother and parents can help. I was quite surprised. Could it be that because I wouldn't die so quickly this time, he could just leave me behind? But with the wound on my abdomen, I had to lie flat, and my back was hurting terribly. I really didn't have the energy to argue with him. The father who came to take over my shift even advised me, given the current situation, he can't manage both sides. Please try to understand. Seeing how much Dad was thinking of Fang Jiaming, a sudden thought crossed my mind. Dad, if I were to die, would you and Mom give up inheriting my estate and leave it all to Fang Jiaming? Dad glared at me, giving my head a light pat. What nonsense are you talking? The doctor said if you cooperate well with the follow-up chemotherapy, there's a high chance it won't come back. I let the corner of my mouth drop. Dad, life has its ups and downs. Birth, aging, sickness, and death. Don't shy away from it. I just want to know what you think. Dad, don't look away. Help me pull the blanket higher. Your mom and I have our pensions. Your younger brother earns a good income and is just as filial as you. Why would we care about your money? As long as Fang Jiaming treats you well and treats Duo well, we don't want anything else. His words were filled with an unmistakable sadness, and my eyes grew moist as well. But I must plan for Duo's future, I earnestly told him. Dad, if by any chance, on that day, you and Mom must not give up what you deserve, even the extra share, I will also entrust it to you for safekeeping. Dad was somewhat surprised. You don't trust Fang Jiaming? Have you discovered something? Suppressing the pain in my heart, I smiled bitterly with resignation. No, it's just that human nature is hard to predict. He can't possibly stay loyal to me for a lifetime. I'm just afraid that with a stepmother comes a stepfather. Dad fell into deep thought. In the afternoon, my younger brother came to see me, and I entrusted him with one thing. I bought critical illness insurance, which should also allow me to get back 300,000 to 400,000, when it's convenient for you. Help me handle this matter. Fang Jiaming has been too busy lately, so I won't trouble him with it. My younger brother glanced at me silently. Got it, sis. I always felt like he had seen through something, but I didn't mention anything to him. I sent my parents and younger brother back home. The hospital is full of germs. If you two get sick, who will help me take care of Duo? There are nurses here, don't worry. In the dead of night, my back hurts so much I couldn't sleep. I could only lift my body from time to time to ease the pain. For some reason, I remembered how in my past life, when I was this uncomfortable, Fang Jiaming stayed with me all night without sleeping, massaging my back from time to time. The aunt in the next bed said enviously, "You really found a good husband. Look at me. I don't even have anyone to stay with me at night." After a few days, not only did the other patients and my family think highly of him, but even the doctors and nurses in charge of my care would joke. Bed 23. For the sake of such a good husband, you have to keep fighting. Fang Jiaming's consecutive days of leave also caught the attention of his unit's leadership. The leader came to visit me once, an elegant middle-aged woman, with a gentle gaze. She listened as everyone praised her subordinate. This young man is truly going all out to care for his wife. These days, that's really something special. At that time, my condition deteriorated rapidly. In the final stages of my illness, I could only extend a hand as thin as a skeleton, pleading with her, "If Fang Jiaming's work is affected because he's taking care of me, please, for the sake of someone who is about to die, give him another chance." She patted me gently and said, "Don't worry, he's such a caring and righteous person, we won't make things difficult for him." True to her word, Fang Jiaming took leave all the way until I passed away, devoting himself wholeheartedly to accompanying me every day. Tonight, the moonlight is clear and bright, allowing me to see the sleeping face of the patient in the next bed, yet the person who stayed by my side in my past life has long since vanished without a trace. With a light sigh, I forced myself to close my eyes and rest. I drifted into a hazy sleep and had a dream, where Fang Jiaming was on the phone in the dream. "Mom, I can't hold on much longer." Fang Jiaming must have been talking to his mother-in-law. He was lying on the sofa at home, probably because his younger brother had swapped shifts with him, letting him come home to rest for a bit. No one was home, so he had the phone on speaker. "Mom, you have no idea how annoying Shinjiayue is. One moment she's in pain here, the next she's uncomfortable there. I even have to carry her bedpan and help her with the toilet. It's absolutely disgusting. There are nurses around, but I still have to personally attend to her. When will this ever end?" The disgust in his voice was palpable. My heart ached for a moment. I could only console myself with the thought that even the most filial children grow weary by a long sickbed, let alone a husband and wife who are merely fair-weather companions. It was only human nature for him to lose patience after taking care of me for so long. "Son, just hold on a little longer. From the looks of Shinjiayue, she won't last much longer. Right now, your in-laws and your boss see you as an exceptional man. Don't let all your efforts go to waste. Remember, every time you go to pay the hospital fees, make sure to complain about your financial struggles to your father-in-law. He probably doesn't know Shinjiayue has insurance. Also, if the doctor asks, insist on using the best medication. You must make them believe that for Shinjiayue, you'd be willing to go bankrupt without a second thought. Don't worry about the money. Compared to this house worth over 10 million and the family's wealth, it's just a drop in the bucket. If you handle this properly, for Duo's sake, they'll surely feel too embarrassed to fight you over the inheritance, especially since they have a son to rely on." My heart sank to the depths of the ocean. Everything he had done was actually a scheme to get his hands on my money. "By the way, you mentioned last time that your boss has a daughter who's divorced and still single now. Make sure you get more face time with your boss. Once Shinjiayue passes away, you can find an opportunity to get to know her. You're handsome and have a good job, son. She'll definitely take a liking to you. Then, when the time comes, shed a few more tears for Shinjiayue, and she'll surely think you're a good man." My mother-in-law had everything planned out perfectly for Fang Jiaming, down to the last detail. It suddenly hit me. The mother of that bride was Fang Jiaming's boss. He really did manage to win her over. The genuine affection I yearned for before my death in my past life turned out to be entirely false. It was a well-staged act, directed by my mother-in-law and passionately performed by her son, and it was truly successful. My parents gave up their inheritance, and he married the daughter of his superior. I was nearly driven mad with rage in my dream. The sky brightened, and I opened my eyes. I've made up my mind. Once I recover, I'm getting a divorce. This time around, my condition is much milder than in my previous life. I was discharged from the hospital after just 1 week. On the day I was discharged, Fong Jiming didn't show up either. He said he was still out of town and couldn't make it back. The doctor has designed a chemotherapy plan for me, and I only need to come once a month. My younger brother took me home, and I didn't let him leave. Little brother, I have something to discuss with you. I want a divorce. Do you think it's possible? My younger brother calmly asked me. Why? I remained silent for a long time, then asked him, do you believe in past lives and reincarnation? He was slightly taken aback. No, there are many things in this world that remain unsolved mysteries, but they have actually happened. If you're saying this, sister, something must have occurred. I told him everything exactly as it had happened. My younger brother furrowed his brows tightly, thought for a moment, and said, sister, if what you say is true, I suggest you don't rush into a divorce right now. If we divorce now, you're sick and can't work. If Fong Jiming wants to fight for Duo, he does have some leverage. The house and assets should be split 50-50, Duo, he won't fight me for her. The house, indeed, that's a big problem. Fong Jiming's family is not well off. The money for his university education was borrowed. After working for several years, all my money went towards paying off debts, so I didn't have much savings. My parents thought he was academically outstanding, honest, and filial, and they didn't mind that his family was poor. The down payment for the house we got married in was given by my parents, and both our names were on the deed. Consider it an investment in a high-quality stock, ensuring my daughter's security for the rest of her life. That's what I used to think too. Now I realize I've been feeding an ungrateful wolf. Are we just supposed to wait like this? What if My younger brother shook his head. Sis, if this dream is real, now that you can't earn money anymore, you'll just be holding him back. He'll most likely look for opportunities elsewhere. When the time comes, gather evidence and talk to him. If he stays faithful and takes good care of you, then the dream is false, and you shouldn't abandon your family over baseless illusions. I smiled bitterly. Look at him, he still hasn't come home, and there have only been 1 or 2 phone calls. How could this dream possibly be false? However, I agree with your suggestion. The house my parents paid for shouldn't be given to him for nothing. I need to take it slow and aim for maximum benefit. After returning from a business trip, Fong Jiming showered me with concern. Honey, I actually ran into an old high school classmate during my business trip. She's also in Beijing and is doing really well. She even started her own company. She helped me pick out a gift for you, he said, pulling out a designer silk scarf. Nice, right? She's a real career woman. Her taste is impeccable. He kept praising his classmate non-stop, visibly excited. I had a strange feeling that he must have some special thoughts about this old classmate. I gave a few perfunctory replies. Jiming, I want to discuss something with you. You're so busy with work, and I get bored staying home alone. Plus I miss my family. How about I go back home for a while? Sure, he immediately agreed. I was actually worried I wouldn't be able to take good care of you. You stay at your parents' house and rest well, and I'll come see you and our daughter whenever I have time. I moved back to my parents' house, and the cameras at home were still on. For a while, Fong Jiming would come to see me and Duo every few days. On the days he didn't come, he would order takeout after work or eat at the office before heading home, and he would video chat with me along the way. For the rest of the time, he lay on the couch playing with his phone and watching TV. Gradually, he came home later and later, and even when he was at home, he would be smiling like a flower at his phone. But it wasn't because he was contacting me. He visited us less and less, and most of the time, a phone call or video chat was enough to show his concern. Even on the days of my chemotherapy, he kept making excuses, and in the end, it was my family who accompanied me, until I realized he hadn't come home for several days in a row, yet his suitcase for business trips was still at home. I realized there was a high probability he was having an affair. The next steps were simple. Just hire a private investigator to get plenty of photos, even if they weren't explicit. Seeing him and that woman entering and leaving hotels so intimately made it clear they weren't just ordinary friends. I felt a sense of relief, as if the shoe that had been hanging over my head had finally dropped, when my younger brother presented me with 2 possibilities. Even though I was convinced it was the first one, a tiny part of me still held on to a sliver of hope, that everything in my dream was just my wild imagination, and Fong Jiming was simply a genuinely good man. Now, my heart has died, but before I could gather all the evidence to Confront him. Fang Jiaming reached out to me on WeChat. Jiayue, now that you're out of the hospital, you can give me your salary card, right? The funds in it are about to mature, and I need to buy new ones. I smiled and leisurely took a photo of that 300,000 yuan I owe you. You should pay me back this money first, otherwise, how could I dare to hand my salary card over to you again? Fang Jiaming replied immediately, honey, the money won't disappear just because it's with my mom, let her feel at ease for a while, and I'll ask her for it later, okay? I didn't bother arguing with him further. If you want my salary card, get the money back first, otherwise, I can't trust you. After saying that, I ignored him. Not long after, 300,000 was deposited into my account. When he asked for the card again, I pretended to be dead and didn't respond. He cursed and grumbled a few times, but seemed to give up eventually, and never contacted me again after that. After a month, Fang Jiaming suddenly showed up at my parents' house, eagerly offering to accompany me to the hospital for my follow-up appointment and chemotherapy. Not a word was mentioned about the salary card. Honey, when are you coming home? It's so cold and empty without you and Duo. On the way, he actually suggested that I bring our daughter back home. That's strange, I thought. During this period of Cold War, we both understood tacitly that this marriage was bound to end sooner or later. I was waiting for the right opportunity to bring up divorce. But what was going on with him? Out of curiosity, I took Duo and went back home. Opening the door, my mother-in-law was sitting there with a smile, saying, Jiayue, Duo, you're back. Mom said that since you fell ill, it's been your parents taking care of you, and she hasn't been able to help at all. My mother-in-law looked apologetic. Jiayue, your parents have worked hard. From now on, move back home, and I'll take care of you. Interesting, I smiled. Mom, then I'll be troubling you. Mother-in-law nodded with a slight smile. Early the next morning, mother-in-law came knocking on the door, waking both me and Duo. Jiayue, I made some porridge. You two should get up and eat soon. Duo and I yawned. Mom, it's the weekend today. My mother-in-law looked as if she had just realized something. My mistake, I got the dates mixed up, but the porridge is already cooked. So why don't you two get up and eat? Duo was unwilling, crying and fussing, still wanting to sleep. On the other hand, was already awake and couldn't fall back asleep, so I simply got up. Stepping outside, Fang Jiaming's door was still tightly shut. It seemed my mother-in-law had only called for me and forgotten to wake her son. Looking at the table, there was porridge, but unfortunately, it was the kind I couldn't eat. It was century egg and lean meat porridge, and the scent of pepper hit me as soon as I approached. On the table, there were also fried dough sticks, which I couldn't eat either. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Mom, I remember telling you last night that I have dietary restrictions. I can't have pepper or fried dough sticks. My mother-in-law apologized. Oh, look at my memory. She lowered her head and began wiping away tears. Not long after, Fang Jiaming came out of the room with a furrowed brow. Mom, what's wrong? Then he turned to me. My mom was kind enough to make breakfast for you and Duo. How could you make her cry? I hadn't even said a word, and here they were, putting on a show. I couldn't be bothered with them and went to the kitchen to make myself something to eat. Just as I set it on the table, Fang Jiaming suddenly flew into a rage. With a forceful swipe of his hand, my plate crashed to the floor. Eat. You haven't even apologized to my mom yet. What are you eating? My mother-in-law shrank back, looking timid and submissive. It's all my fault. My memory is poor. I'm sorry, Jiayue. Fang Jiaming's anger flared even hotter. He glared at me, raising his hand as if he were about to strike. Suddenly, I burst out laughing, loud and unrestrained. Fang Jiaming, save your breath. Aren't you afraid that if this slap lands, I'll report you for domestic violence? Your job might not be safe then. He froze for a moment, his eyes involuntarily darting toward his mother. She lowered her head, and her sobbing immediately stopped. Fang Jiaming switched to pointing at me. Shen Jiayue, I'm warning you. My mother worked hard to raise me, not to be treated with disrespect. If you dare treat my mother poorly, we'll get a divorce. I tried hard to suppress my laughter, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Fang Jiaming, have you studied marriage law? Do you know that the court won't grant a divorce while I'm sick? So you're using your mother to create conflict and force me to file for divorce? Fang Jiaming's voice softened. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just angry that you don't respect my mom. When did I ever say I wanted a divorce? If you don't divorce, won't your old classmate be anxious? You've already accompanied her to the obstetrics and gynecology department. If you drag it out any longer, the baby will be born. His face instantly turned pale. Shen Jiayue, how did you know I went? my mother-in-law stopped him from continuing. Jiayue, you've misunderstood. That girl's parents are old friends of mine, and they asked me to look after her. She wasn't feeling well a few days ago, so I asked Jemming to accompany her to the hospital. It's all my fault for meddling. I cut her off. Enough, stop the act. I know everything. My mother-in-law instantly fell silent. I know you're in a hurry to get a divorce, but you're afraid I'll drag it out and refuse. Mom, you had to step in personally to play the role of the wicked mother-in-law. If you want a divorce, fine, duo, the house, and the savings all go to me. If you agree, we can go handle the paperwork today. His face suddenly flushed bright red again. You wish, Fong. Jemming, do you know what kind of man your boss despises the most? Do you know why her daughter got divorced? I heard there's a promotion opportunity recently, and it's between two candidates. Do you want me to hand over all the evidence to her and let you be the one left behind? Think it over carefully. Fong Jemming hung his head in defeat, and even his mother-in-law didn't dare to say another word. I caught them completely off guard. I only found out yesterday from the photos that my old classmate was already pregnant. When she went to the hospital to register, the father's column was filled in with Fong Jemming's name. As for the promotion opportunity, I already knew about it from my past life, but in the end, they didn't choose him. But that doesn't stop me from using it to threaten him. With all the advantages of timing, location, and people on their side, they still dream of taking the initiative. They really are thinking too highly of themselves. A month later, I successfully obtained all the assets and custody rights, and even forced Fong Jemming to pay the child support in one lump sum. Fong Jemming and his old classmates soon got their marriage certificate. However, his new wife was no easygoing person, and she pressured Fong Jemming into throwing a lavish wedding. Now everyone in their department knew that Fong Jemming had cheated on me while I was sick and even had a child. It is said that his standing in front of the leadership plummeted, and he was eventually transferred to a peripheral department. With no future prospects left, my ex-mother-in-law was also ordered to stay in Beijing, as the new wife was busy running a business and needed someone to help take care of the children. Even with nannies and housekeepers around, she still didn't feel at ease, forcing her mother-in-law to take full responsibility. Now, whenever the child had any bumps or bruises, or if anything about the way the child was raised didn't meet her expectations, she would unleash a torrent of criticism at her mother-in-law. My mother-in-law lived under immense pressure every day, and before long, she truly fell seriously ill. Many of Fong Jemming's former colleagues are still in touch with me, and these pieces of information were gradually passed on to me by them. It's said that the woman divorced her ex-husband because he was infertile. Now that she has a child with Fong Jemming, she's started to reconnect with her ex-husband. I also ran into Fong Jemming once at Dwudwa's kindergarten gate. His hair had thinned considerably compared to before, his back was hunched, and he had lost all his vitality. He just watched his daughter from afar, without approaching. I don't know what he was thinking at that moment, whether he regretted it, having schemed for so long only to end up living a life far from his ideal, but whatever he thinks, it has long had nothing to do with me. I just want to live a healthy life and accompany Duo as she grows up. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My union with Pei Linzhou was far from dignified. We were caught together in a moment of confusion. Pei Linzhou was forced to marry me. I knew Pei Linzhou didn't love me, but I loved Pei Linzhou. I love you so much. I thought that with my sincere heart, my youthful beauty, and that marriage certificate, I could bind Pei Linzhou for a lifetime and make him see my worth. But I was terribly mistaken. Pei Linzhou's heart can never be warmed. He has always carried his first love, Song Xiaowei, in his heart. Whenever Song Xiaowei beckons, Pei Linzhou would abandon me without hesitation and rush to her side. He found a job for Song Xiaowei, arranged housing for her, and provided her with food and drink. Whenever Song Xiaowei encounters any trouble, Pei Linzhou is always the first to arrive, ready to shield her from the storm. I was consumed by jealousy, rage, and resentment, making a scene like a shrew to stop Pei Linzhou from getting close to Song Xiaowei, but my outburst backfired, making Pei Linzhou despise me more and more. On the night I gave birth, Pei Linzhou abandoned me and rushed to Song Xiaowei once again. In the end, I died in the hospital from a difficult labor, both mother and child lost. Before I died, I regretted it. If there is a next life, I will never entangle myself with Pei Linzhou again. I will stay far away from him. Perhaps heaven heard my prayer and gave me a chance to correct my mistakes. I was reborn, back in 1988, back to the 5th year of my marriage to Pei Linzhou. back to the day when Pei Linzhou defended Song Xiaowei and had the guards throw me out in front of everyone, making a spectacle of me. Throw her out, the man's authoritative voice rang out, and then I was thrown out, with a loud thud. I was slammed heavily onto the ground, and excruciating pain spread throughout my body. My forehead collided with something hard, the pain was excruciating, and something sticky flowed down, blurring my vision. Instinctively, I reached up to wipe the liquid from my forehead, my hand covered in bright red. A man's cold voice came from beside my ear. Wu Duo, this is the military, not a place for you to act recklessly. If you don't want to go to jail, behave yourself. The familiar tone and words made me lift my head toward the source of the voice, on the steps less than 10 paces away. From me, Pei Linzhou stood in his military uniform, his expression cold and aloof as he looked down on me with disdain. 2 guards standing behind him, the 2 guards also looked at me with contemptuous eyes. The familiar scene struck me like a bolt of lightning. I had actually been reborn, returned to the 5th year of my marriage to Pei Linzhou in 1988. I remember clearly, at this time, Pei Linzhou was thriving in the military, having been promoted to the rank of colonel and regimental commander, and I had always felt a sense of shared pride because of his promotion. Back then, I walked with a confident stride and a cheerful heart, dreaming of having a child with Pei Linzhou, dreaming of setting up our cozy home and spending the rest of my life with him. I just never expected that Pei Linzhou would arrange for his first love, Song Xiaowei, to take up a position in the military's cultural troupe. Song Xiaowei looks delicate and pitiful, excelling at singing and dancing but utterly helpless in daily life. When a light bulb breaks or a pipe leaks, she turns to Pei Linzhou. When she needs to buy rice or flour, she turns to Pei Linzhou. Even watching movies or going shopping requires Pei Linzhou's company. I was furious that Pei Linzhou abandoned me to accompany Song Xiaowei, and with Song Xiaowei constantly provoking me, I couldn't help but clash with her again and again. Song Xiaowei is delicate and frail, blown over by a mere breeze, while I am as fierce as can be. Every time Song Xiaowei and I clash, Pei Linzhou never bothers to find out if I'm at fault. He just jumps to conclusions and convicts me. He thinks I'm malicious and lack a sense of proportion. After every conflict between Song Xiaowei and me, Pei Linzhou always compensates her. At first, it was just sending her grain, oil, meat coupons, and fabric tickets, but later it escalated. This conflict arose because Pei Linzhou knew Song Xiaowei wanted to buy a TV but had no money, so he went behind my back and used the hard-earned savings I had been putting aside for 2 years to buy a television for Song Xiaowei. Upon hearing this news, I was furious and rushed to the cultural troupe to confront Song Xiaowei. I scolded Song Xiaowei for being shameless, always clinging to a married man and spending our joint marital assets. Hearing that I had gone to make a scene with Song Xiaowei, Pei Linzhou immediately rushed over with his guards. A crowd had gathered around, watching the commotion and pointing fingers, whispering among themselves. Seeing Pei Linzhou, Song Xiaowei burst into tears and threw herself into his arms, clutching Pei Linzhou's sleeve. She looked as pitiful as raindrops on pear blossoms. Pei Linzhou's heart ached for her, and he glared at me with disgust, ordering me to go home immediately. Seeing Pei Linzhou approaching with the guards, I felt a bit guilty inside. My confidence wavered, and I was about to leave, but then I saw Song Xiaowei tugging at Pei Linzhou's sleeve, her gaze full of provocation, stimulated to the point of madness. I couldn't help but start cursing again. Pei Linzhou felt that my behavior had embarrassed him. Furious beyond measure, he directly ordered the guards to throw me out. The guards threw me out, and I hit the ground hard, breaking my head open. Blood trickled down my forehead, unstoppable no matter how I wiped it. In my previous life, I was so furious, enraged, and in pain that I lost all reason, my hatred growing even stronger. Ignoring my injuries and bleeding, I jumped up and charged at Song Xiaowei, determined to fight her to the death. The consequence of this was Pei Linzhou directly ordering the guards to lock me in the confinement room. I spent a week in the confinement room before Pei Linzhou finally remembered to have me released. In the middle of summer, going a week without a bath. You can imagine how miserable I was. When I was dragged out of the confinement room, I reeked all over. Everyone who saw me covered their noses with looks of disgust, and I became the biggest laughingstock in the compound. For a long time after that, I couldn't hold my head up. Thinking of the 7 days of utter horror I experienced in my past life, I shuddered. Having been reborn, I won't make such a foolish mistake again. I wiped away the blood that was about to drip into my eyes and struggled to my feet. All around was dead silent. The onlookers were all staring at me. Song Xiaowei also peeked out from behind Pei Linzhou to look at me. She was still tightly clutching Pei Linzhou's arm, As if she had been glued to him, seeing me in such a miserable state. Song Xiaowei flashed a familiar, provocative smile. In my past life, it was seeing her cling to Pei Linzhou without any restraint and mock me that made me lose control. In this life, I won't be that foolish again. I withdrew my gaze and prepared to limp away. Seeing the blood on my forehead, Pei Linzhou seemed to freeze in shock. He was about to step down to see what had happened, but Song Xiaowei, standing beside him, suddenly collapsed against him. Song Xiaowei had fainted. Pei Linzhou, heartbroken to the extreme, immediately carried her straight to the hospital. I limped home through the crowd, clutching my forehead that wouldn't stop bleeding. Pei Linzhou didn't return until several hours later. I had already tended to my wound myself and was calmly cooking in the kitchen. Pei Linzhou was holding disinfectant iodine and gauze in his hand. He came in and said coldly, "I brought you some disinfectant." I ignored Pei Linzhou, continuing to stir-fry the dishes in the pan with my back turned to him. Seeing me quietly preparing dinner without any fuss, Pei Linzhou was greatly surprised. He had already braced himself for my endless tantrums upon his return. He never expected that I wouldn't cry or make a scene. My unusual behavior made Pei Linzhou frown as he walked to the kitchen door, his tone filled with reproach. "Xiao Wei was hospitalized because of your tantrums. Tomorrow, you should go to the hospital to see her and apologize properly." In my previous life, after I was released from the confinement room, Pei Linzhou also made me go apologize to Song Xiaowei. I was so furious that I had a huge argument with him. I cursed him and Song Xiaowei, calling them adulterers and a pair of shameless lovers. I forced Pei Linzhou to break things off with Song Xiaowei, threatening to report their improper conduct to the military district if he didn't. Pei Linzhou was so enraged that he slammed the door and moved into the army barracks, never coming home again. I was head over heels in love with Pei Linzhou, yet I worried sick that he might go to the military barracks and get all hot and heavy with Song Xiaowei, so I swallowed my pride and went to apologize and admit my mistakes, but Pei Linzhou didn't give me a single friendly look. In the end, I resorted to scheming and trapped him on the cot in his barracks, shamelessly spending the night with him as husband and wife. Only then did Pei Linzhou reluctantly agree to move back in. Thinking back to all the dirty, low-down tricks I used on Pei Linzhou in my past life, my face burned with shame, and my heart was filled with utter humiliation. Since heaven has given me a chance to be reborn, why not let me be reborn before everything happened? Why must I marry Pei Linzhou and endure humiliation once again? I hate that the timing of my rebirth is off, but there's nothing I can do to change it now. In the hours I've spent treating my own injuries since returning, I've already made up my mind. From now on, no matter how Pei Linzhou wants to help Song Xiaowei, I will no longer interfere. I have suffered enough from loving Pei Linzhou. In this life, I will correct my mistakes and let everything return to its starting point. Let Pei Linzhou and Song Xiaowei, those star-crossed lovers who are madly in love, have their happy ending. Pei Linzhou stood at the kitchen door, his gaze burning as he waited for my answer. Without turning around, I calmly agreed to his request. All right. My compliance left Pei Linzhou utterly bewildered. He instinctively felt I was up to something again. Wu Duo, I'm warning you, don't play one game to my face and another behind my back. If you dare cause trouble for Xiao Wei again, don't blame me for being harsh with you. I couldn't help but laugh. How exactly would you be harsh with me? Pei Linzhou declared resolutely. I will file for divorce with you. Before Pei Linzhou returned, I had already considered the matter of divorce. I was still thinking about how to bring up the divorce with Pei Linzhou, but I never expected him to mention it before I could. Since both Pei Linzhou and I are eager to part ways, it's best to end things amicably now. I nodded. I understand. There's no time like the present. Let's go file for divorce right now. As soon as I finished speaking, I heard Pei Linzhou scoff. He looked at me with disdain in his eyes. Wu Duo, my patience is limited. You'd better not challenge me, or you won't be able to handle the consequences. Pei Linzhou knew all too well just how obsessively clingy I had been toward him. How could he possibly believe that I truly wanted to divorce him? He was convinced I was playing hard to get. I untied the apron from around my waist and looked at Pei Linzhou calmly. I'm not challenging you. Being with you was a mistake from the start. Since that's the case, it's better to let everything return to its origin. Let's go find the leadership and file for divorce right now. Pei Linzhou's expression was quite unpleasant as he stared at me. I calmly met Pei Linzhou's gaze, my eyes devoid of any emotion. From Pei Linzhou's eyes and expression, it was clear he was extremely displeased. I didn't understand why he was so upset. Wasn't my agreement to divorce exactly what he had been hoping for? Shouldn't he be happy to go file the report with me? What's with that terrifying look he's giving me? Pei Linzhou didn't eagerly agree to go file the divorce report with me as I had expected. Instead, he threw the iodine and gauze in front of me and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I calmly continued making dinner, preparing spicy shredded potatoes, mapo tofu, and vinegar braised cabbage with the steaming hot white rice. I ate 3 bowls in one go, so delicious, so full. After eating and drinking my fill, I inexplicably shed tears. It's been many years since I last ate anything spicy. I love the numbing, spicy, and savory flavors. I can't live without the heat, but because Pei Linzhou doesn't like it, preferring light and mild food, I've had to hold back ever since I fell for Pei Linzhou. I started changing myself. Pei Linzhou doesn't eat spicy food, and I've endured it for so many years. From now on, I don't have to hold back anymore. I can freely enjoy the food I love. How wonderful. Pei Linzhou left and never came back. Every time we argue, he throws a tantrum and runs away from home. Needless to say, he won't be back tonight. I tidied up, washed up, and returned to the bedroom. On the headboard hung our wedding photo with Pei Linzhou. My head rested on Pei Linzhou's shoulder, and I was smiling radiantly. Pei Linzhou's face was cold, as if someone owed him money. Throughout all these years of marriage, he has never smiled at me, always speaking to me in a rough, loud voice. To please him, I not only had to work but also took on all the household chores. I went out of my way to cook the dishes Pei Linzhou liked, hoping to win his favor. They say to win a man's heart, you must first capture his stomach. In my past life, I learned to cook all kinds of dishes just to capture Pei Linzhou's heart. My culinary skills were good enough to open a restaurant, yet Pei Linzhou never showed me the slightest bit of affection. He watched coldly as I bustled about for him, as I toiled through rough and exhausting work, as I shamelessly tried to please him. It wasn't until I died once that I realized, to love someone is to be unwilling to let them suffer or endure hardship. Pei Linzhou didn't love me, so he let me exhaust myself, acting like his old nanny. He watched coldly as I bustled about for him, as I did the heavy labor that should have been a man's work. He felt not the slightest bit of reluctance, but with Song Xiaowei, it was different. He couldn't bear to let Song Xiaowei suffer even the slightest hardship. Even if Song Xiaowei choked on a sip of water, he would fret over it for ages. In my past life, I was foolish enough to learn this truth only at the cost of my life. In this life, I will never repeat the same mistake. I tore down the wedding photo with Pei Linzhou, cut it into pieces, and threw it into the trash. In this life, I will take the initiative to file for divorce and sever all ties with Pei Linzhou. The next day, I made time to inquire about divorce procedures. The staff at the Civil Affairs Bureau flipped through the files for a long time before finally telling me, there's no record of my marriage registration with Pei Linzhou. The staff member asked me suspiciously, are you sure you submitted the marriage registration? I nodded with certainty. Pei Linzhou and I did indeed submit our marriage registration. I liked Pei Linzhou, and to marry him legitimately, I took the initiative to get the marriage registration form. I filled out the marriage registration information for Pei Linzhou and myself, and I personally submitted it. However, I never saw the marriage certificate for Pei Linzhou and me. On the day the marriage certificate was supposed to be collected, my mother fell ill, and I was busy taking care of her. Pei Linzhou was away on a mission, so his younger sister, Pei Xiaomei, volunteered to pick up the marriage certificate for us. On her way home with the marriage certificate, Pei Xiaomei accidentally fell into the river, and the certificate was washed away by the water. Later, I thought about going with Pei Linzhou to reapply for the marriage certificate, but he was always too busy, so the matter kept getting postponed. The staff searched for a while but couldn't find the marriage registration information for me and Pei Linzhou. He told me to go home and wait for further notice, saying they would take some time to check the records again and give me a definite answer. I was also busy with work, so I had to leave the Civil Affairs Bureau. As I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, a sudden thought crossed my mind. Could it be that Pei Linzhou and I never actually registered our marriage? On my way home from work in the afternoon, I ran into Auntie Li, a neighbor from our compound. She stopped me and lowered her voice. Did Captain Pei not come home last night? I nodded. And Aunt Li sighed. Wu Duo, what am I supposed to say to you? If your husband isn't coming home, why don't you go check on him? Today at the hospital, I heard from the nurses that Commander Pei stayed with Song Xiaowei the entire night, a man and a woman alone together. Aren't you worried? Not worried, I replied with a smile. You, child, you used to be so fierce. How did you suddenly become a different person? If you don't know how to deal with a shameless vixen, Auntie can give you some Advice: I hate these home-wrecking vixens the most. It's alright, Auntie Lee, I'll handle my own matters. Thank you for your concern. After thanking Auntie Lee, I returned home, feeling neither sorrow nor joy. After all, I had already seen through everything clearly in my past life. Pei Lin Zhou is destined to be with his beloved Song Xiaowei. I can't delay any longer. I need to move forward with the divorce quickly. After divorcing Pei Lin Zhou, I will leave this place. After all, I only came here to follow him when he joined the military. I need to prepare in advance for my departure. First, I must secure travel expenses and living costs. When I returned home and opened my savings box, the money I had painstakingly saved for 2 years to buy a TV had been taken by Pei Lin Zhou to please Song Xiaowei. Now there isn't a single cent left in the box, penniless. I have no choice but to wait until next month's paycheck to have any money, but I don't want to wait another day. Seeing everything in this room, I can't help but think of my pitiful and tragic past life, and recall the pain and despair I felt before I died. I want to leave this place as quickly as possible, but how am I supposed to raise the money for the journey? In my haste, I suddenly remembered the watch I had custom-made for Pei Lin Zhou. Pei Lin Zhou's birthday is on the 3rd of next month. To please him, I spent several months' salary half a year in advance to custom-make a watch, intending to give it to him. The watch is still at the mall and hasn't been picked up yet. I'll go to the mall tomorrow to return it first. The next day at noon, during my work break, I hurried to the mall to return the watch, but on the road outside the mall, I saw Song Xiaowei and Pei Lin Zhou. Song Xiaowei walked with a swaying, delicate step, looking incredibly fragile, while Pei Lin Zhou followed her nervously, like a protective guardian. Pei Lin Zhou only had eyes for Song Xiaowei and didn't notice me, but Song Xiaowei saw me. Whether it was because she was too weak or for some other reason, as soon as she saw me, Song Xiaowei suddenly collapsed toward Pei Lin Zhou. Pei Lin Zhou swiftly caught Song Xiaowei in his arms. Song Xiaowei seized the moment to grasp Pei Lin Zhou's hand, pressing herself tightly against him while panting delicately. In the past, seeing such a scene would have driven me mad, and I would have rushed over to make a scene, but now, I walked past them without even a sideways glance. From behind came Song Xiaowei's delicate voice. I might be anemic, I've been feeling dizzy lately and keep falling over. Buy some brown sugar to steep in water and drink to replenish your blood, Pei Lin Zhou said gently. I'd like to, but I don't have any money left on me. If you're short on money, I have some here. No wonder she's the apple of his eye. Pei Lin Zhou took the initiative to buy brown sugar eggs for Song Xiaowei to nourish her body. My heart ached with bitterness. For 5 years of marriage, I had been the one managing this household, while Pei Lin Zhou never contributed a single cent to our home. All his money went to Song Xiaowei, and he even complained that he didn't care for her enough, going so far as to misuse the hard-earned money I had saved to subsidize her. I had also fainted from anemia and exhaustion before. How did Pei Lin Zhou treat me then? He said I was faking a faint to make him feel guilty and sorry for me, but when it came to Song Xiaowei, he actually knew she needed blood replenishment. Without comparison, it was fine. Once compared, I realized how utterly pathetic I was. Fortunately, I had already made up my mind to leave. Pei Lin Zhou and Song Xiaowei's affairs had nothing to do with me anymore. I went straight to the counter, found the salesperson who had taken the watch order, and explained my purpose. They deducted $10 from my deposit and refunded me $590. With the money in hand, I breathed a sigh of relief and was about to leave, when Pei Lin Zhou's voice came from behind me. Let me use the money you're holding. I turned around and saw that Pei Lin Zhou and Song Xiaowei had somehow ended up standing right behind me. Seeing me look at him, Pei Lin Zhou repeated, "Give me the money you're holding." "Why should I give it to you?" I asked. "Xiaowei's family has run into some trouble and needs money. I don't have enough on me." I cut Pei Lin Zhou off. "This is my own money. Why should I give it to you to do you a favor?" Pei Lin Zhou's face was full of impatience. "Weren't you planning to use this money to buy me a birthday gift?" "I don't want a birthday gift anymore. Just give me the money as my present, or how about I borrow it from you?" "Who said I was going to give you a birthday gift? Can't you see I'm here to return the gift? As for borrowing money, you gave the money I worked so hard to save to Song Xiaowei to buy a TV, and you called it a loan. Have you paid me back yet, you?" Pei Lin Zhou's expression changed as I confronted him. In his memory, I had always been obedient to him, and this sudden change in my attitude made Pei Lin Zhou extremely displeased. He raised his voice, demanding, "Are you going to give me the money or not?" "No, this is my money, Wu Duo. This is what you owe Xiaowei. If it weren't for you, Xiaowei wouldn't have ended up like this. You have the obligation and responsibility to help Xiaowei recover." This made me laugh. "I'm not her mother. where does the obligation to support her come from? Pei Linzhou's face darkened as if it were about to drip with gloom. Wu Duo, just give me the money, and I won't hold your past mistakes against you. I'll come back tonight, otherwise, I'll divorce you. When Pei Linzhou uttered the word, divorce, I saw the delight in Song Xiaowei's eyes. Song Xiaowei was eager to marry Pei Linzhou, and of course, I had to let them have their way. Fine, let's get divorced, right now. Whoever backs out is a coward. I readily agreed to the divorce, which made Pei Linzhou's expression turn ugly. He glared at me with a vicious look, his eyes as if he wanted to devour me. His stare made my heart race. Hadn't I given him what he wanted? Why was he still looking at me like that? My heart trembling, Pei Linzhou suddenly reached out and snatched the money from my hands when I wasn't paying attention. Give me back my money. I snapped back to reality and lunged forward, trying to reclaim what was mine, but Pei Linzhou pushed me away with a single shove. His physical strength was far from ordinary, and with that push, I lost my balance and fell to the ground. Pei Linzhou paid no attention to me and handed my money to Song Xiaowei. Take the money and send it back to your family for their urgent needs. Song Xiaowei looked at me with a mix of pity and smugness, her voice sweet and delicate. This is Wu Duo's money, and Wu Duo doesn't want to give it. Don't mind her. In this house, what I say goes. I fell to the ground, my body not in much pain, but my heart aching terribly. Tears involuntarily rolled from my eyes. Pei Linzhou, what gives you the right? What on earth gives you the right? That's my money, it's my money. Only then did Pei Linzhou turn to look at me. Seeing me sitting on the floor, he reached out to help me up. I forcefully pushed his hand away. Don't you dare pretend to be kind. Wu Duo, what are you making a fuss about again? I already told you that money was a loan from me, and I'll pay you back later. Pay me back. I don't dare to hope for that. In the years since marrying Pei Linzhou, I've scrimped and saved, only for all the money I managed to put aside to be given by Pei Linzhou to Song Xiaowei. Having lived 2 lives, I know that once money is given away by Pei Linzhou, there's no chance of getting it back. I've accepted my fate. I stood up numbly, once again shaking off Pei Linzhou's hand that was about to help me. Pei Linzhou, I don't want this money anymore. I have only one request. If you take my money, then let's get a divorce. Without any fuss, let's go get divorced right now. Pei Linzhou sneered. What are you making a fuss about again? How many times have you mentioned divorce in just 2 days? Wu Duo, do you really think I won't divorce you? Let me tell you, don't get the wrong idea. He thought I was just making a scene. I couldn't help but laugh. I'm not making a scene. Pei Linzhou, I really want to divorce you and set you free. Let's go get divorced right now. Pei Linzhou stared at me, veins bulging on his forehead. He looked terrifying. Wu Duo, I don't have time to play along with your little act. There will be no divorce between us. If you want to leave, go ahead. No one's stopping you. What do you mean by that? Literally, behave yourself, and I'll acknowledge you as my wife. If you continue to stubbornly make a fuss, then pack your things and leave. I won't stop you. After Pei Linzhou finished speaking, he turned and walked away. Watching his retreating figure, a sense of foreboding welled up in my heart. I didn't chase after Pei Linzhou to question him further. Instead, I immediately rushed to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The clerk who had assisted me before had been replaced by someone else. I explained my purpose to him. The clerk looked me over for a long moment before sighing. Since things have come to this, I won't hide it from you anymore. You and Commander Pei never actually registered your marriage. Upon hearing the staff member's words, I was first stunned, then relieved. Still, to confirm, I asked one more question. Are you sure we never registered our marriage? I personally submitted the marriage registration form. It's true, you did submit the marriage application form, but later, Commander Pei had someone take it away, saying the information was filled out incorrectly and needed to be redone. It was never resubmitted. The application was taken from my hands. I remember it very clearly. So Pei Linzhou has been deceiving me all along. He never intended to marry me from the start. He was just afraid I'd make a scene, so he pulled this stunt behind my back. No wonder Pei Linzhou just said he wouldn't divorce me. If I want to leave, I should go on my own, without a divorce certificate. There's naturally no need for a divorce. I just have to get lost on my own to end it all. How ridiculous. I laughed out loud. After living 2 lifetimes, it turns out Pei Linzhou and I have absolutely no connection whatsoever. This is the funniest thing I've ever encountered. When I got home from work in the evening, I discovered, to my utter astonishment, that Pei Linzhou was actually in the kitchen making dinner. After 5 years of marriage to Pei Linzhou, he has never cooked dinner once. Has the sun risen from the west today? Seeing me return, Pei Pei Lin Zhou took the initiative to greet me. Wash your hands and get ready to eat. The table was set with light, bland dishes, and I had no appetite at all. I looked at this man I had loved wholeheartedly in my past life, scrutinizing him as if I had never known him before. His features remained as handsome as ever, yet at this moment, looking at him, my heart felt not the slightest flutter. It takes only an instant to see someone clearly. I thought I had seen Pei Lin Zhou for who he was in my past life, but little did I know there were still surprises waiting ahead. Being stared at like this by me, Pei Lin Zhou coughed awkwardly. Why are you looking at me? Eat your food. For the first time ever, he picked up a piece of winter melon and placed it in my bowl. I noticed you usually like this the most. Have some more. I had originally intended to part with him on good terms, but at this moment, I found I didn't want to pretend anymore. I pushed the winter melon Pei Lin Zhou had given me to the side and told him, word by word, I don't like winter melon. It's the dish I hate the most. Pei Lin Zhou was stunned, and it took him a while to say, but, you used to eat it every day, didn't you? Yes. I used to have a dish made of winter melon on the table every day. It wasn't because I liked it, but because winter melon was cheap. I felt sorry for Pei Lin Zhou needing nutrition for his training, so I saved all the meat and eggs for him to eat. I only had winter melon to eat myself, which led Pei Lin Zhou to believe that I didn't like meat and only enjoyed winter melon. How ironic. Pei Lin Zhou enjoyed my sacrifices for him without a shred of gratitude. When he deceived me, did he not feel even the slightest bit of unease in his heart? I don't want to pretend to be calm anymore. I eat winter melon because it's cheap, not because I like it. I've been married to you for 5 years, eating winter melon for 5 whole years. Now, just the sight of winter melon makes me sick. After saying that, I didn't care what expression Pei Lin Zhou had on his face. I pushed away the bowl and chopsticks, stood up, and went back to my room. Closing the door, I lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. The money from returning the watch was snatched by Pei Lin Zhou and given to Song Xiaowei. I'll have to find another way to get the travel expenses for leaving. Fortunately, it's not all bad news. Today has been a mix of good and bad for me. I may have lost my travel money, but I've received some excellent news. Pei Lin Zhou and I never officially registered our marriage, so we don't need to go through a divorce. I can leave freely without even having to say goodbye to him. Now I'm back to the problem of scraping together travel funds. I glance around the bedroom cabinets and finally come up with another idea. I had put my heart into decorating the home I shared with Pei Lin Zhou, hoping to spend the rest of my life with him. In this house, from the large furniture down to the small utensils, everything was bought by me. Since I'm leaving, I sold all the things I bought with my own salary. The wardrobe, cabinets, bicycle, sewing machine, I sold them all, so the travel expenses are definitely covered. As I was thinking this, the door was pushed open, and Pei Lin Zhou appeared at the doorway holding a bowl of wontons. I just went out to buy it, eat it while it's hot. This was the first time Pei Lin Zhou had ever bought food for me. I hadn't eaten dinner, and with my stomach empty, I naturally wouldn't let myself suffer. I took the wontons and began eating them in big mouthfuls. Pei Lin Zhou didn't leave. He stood beside me, watching me eat the wontons. After watching me finish a bowl of wontons and even drink up all the soup, he finally spoke up. From now on, I'll give you all my salary. His words startled me, and I immediately refused upon realizing what he meant. No need, just give your money to Song Xiaowei. Wu Duo. He raised his voice angrily. Did I say something wrong? Haven't you always been giving money to Song Xiaowei? Pei Lin Zhou stormed out, slamming the door behind him. It looked like he was angry again and heading off to stay at the military barracks. That night, I went to bed early. In the middle of the night, half asleep and groggy, I felt someone holding me in their arms. Restless hands were still wandering over my body. Startled awake, I didn't even think. I grabbed that perverted hand and bit down hard. A pained cry rang out, and I followed it up with a forceful kick. With a loud bang, the lights came on, revealing Pei Lin Zhou lying on the ground in a sorry state, glaring at me fiercely. Wu Duo, you're something, you're really something. Pei Lin Zhou clutched his bleeding hand, gritting his teeth as he stared at me. I offered a half-hearted apology. I thought a thief had broken in, so I acted a bit too harshly. Sorry about that. What kind of thief would dare to lay a hand on you? You did it on purpose, didn't you? You're getting back at me. I really didn't mean to get back at you. After all, you've always been reluctant to touch me and never took the initiative. How was I supposed to know it was you? You should have said something. After Pei Lin Zhou and I got married, he never took the initiative to touch me. It was always me who had to make the first move. I wanted a child with him, so every time I was the one who initiated, and he never refused. I always thought that since he was willing to touch me, he must at least like my body. It was only later that Song Xiaowei told me that Pei Linzhou touched me because her body was weak, and Pei Linzhou was a normal man who needed that kind of thing. So Pei Linzhou kept the fact that we didn't get a marriage certificate from me, just treating me as a free tool for venting his desires. On the other end, Pei Linzhou was so angry he was panting. Do I need to announce it when I sleep with my own wife? My heart ached dully, and I let out a scornful laugh. Am I really your wife? Are you sure you see me as your wife and not something else? What do you mean, Wu Duo? Have you really been pushing your luck lately? Do you have to go against me to feel satisfied? Pei Linzhou, clutching his injured hand, roared at me. He looked extremely angry, the kind of anger that makes one's 7 orifices smoke. I didn't want to argue with him in the middle of the night, especially since I had important matters to attend to tomorrow. I yawned. It's too late, I'm going to sleep first. Seeing me lie back down and continue sleeping, Pei Linzhou stood by the bed and asked somewhat sadly, you bite me and just brush it off like that, otherwise, I'm not a doctor. Why don't you go to the hospital and see for yourself? My response left Pei Linzhou speechless. He didn't leave. I could feel him standing by the bed, staring at me. I was simply too exhausted and had no energy to figure out what he meant. I quickly fell asleep. Pei Linzhou stood by the bed in a daze, watching Wu Duo, who was wrapped up tightly. The wound on his hand was still bleeding, but the woman on the bed had already begun to breathe steadily. She refused to share a marital life with him and didn't care that he was injured. In the past, whenever he returned from a mission with even a small wound, she would fuss over him, insisting on disinfecting and dressing it. Now, she had bitten him like this and was sleeping as if nothing had happened. A knot of frustration was stuck in her chest, impossible to swallow or spit out. The feeling was unbearable. Pei Linzhou suddenly remembered the wound on Wu Duo's forehead from when the guards had thrown her to the ground yesterday. She had bled so much back then, and what had he done? He didn't have time to attend to her, rushing to send the unconscious Song Xiaowei to the hospital, putting himself in her shoes. She must have been heartbroken at that time, right? And earlier today, she was pushed to the ground, screaming uncontrollably about wanting a divorce. She must have hated him to the core back then, right? Pei Linzhou felt some regret, but not much. This was what she owed Song Xiaowei. If she hadn't used extreme measures back then to break up him and Song Xiaowei wouldn't have chosen to end her own life, nor would she have been left with a body full of lingering health issues. His kindness toward Song Xiaowei was an act of atonement. This is what he and Wu Duo owe Song Xiaowei. When I woke up in the morning, Pei Linzhou was nowhere to be seen, and I didn't bother to look for him. Today is Saturday, and I have important things to do. As soon as I got up, I started packing up the things in the house that could be sold. During the 2 days off, Pei Linzhou did not return home. Meanwhile, I spent those 2 days handling all the items I intended to sell. I sold the sewing machine to the wife of political commissar Lu next door. I had originally bought it for 127 yuan and used it for 3 years. When selling it to Commissar Lu's wife, I only charged 30 yuan. The bicycle was a Forever brand, which I had purchased for 200 yuan. It was bought to make it easier for Pei Linzhou to come home, but unfortunately, after buying it, Pei Linzhou never rode it. He felt sorry for Song Xiaowei and actually planned to give it to her behind my back. It was only after I cried and made a scene that it was kept. The bicycle was completely brand new, and I sold it to Comrade He in the East End for 100 yuan. The wardrobe and cabinets at home cost me several hundred yuan, and I sold all the used items at very low prices. I now have over 200 yuan in my hands, which is more than enough for the travel expenses to leave, but I need to think about my future livelihood. I can't just sit back and watch my savings run out. I want to start a business. In a few years, the era of reform and opening up will be in full swing, and I plan to make some money and start a small venture. Starting a business requires capital, so how am I going to get the initial funds? I thought of my job. My job is as an accountant at the company. It's easy and the pay is good. In my past life, when Song Xiaowei's performing arts troupe disbanded and she couldn't find work, Pei Linzhou took it upon himself to go to my company's leadership and had me step down, giving my job to Song Xiaowei. In this life, I won't give Pei Linzhou the chance to curry favor with Song Xiaowei. I'm going to sell my job in advance. This should be enough to cover the capital I need for my business. Lost in thought, Song Xiaowei suddenly came over. As soon as she entered, she asked me, "Is Lin Zhou at home? I need to talk to him about something." I replied coldly, "He's not here." "Then do you know where Lin Zhou went?" "How could I possibly know something you don't? After all, you and Pei Linzhou are much closer than I am, aren't you?" I didn't indulge Song Xiaowei. Song Xiaowei flushed red and glared at me. It must be you causing trouble, let me tell you, Wu Duo, don't think you can drive a wedge between Lin Zhou and me with your tricks. Lin Zhou and I can't be torn apart by someone like you. Got it, you and Pei Lin Zhou are a match made in heaven, madly in love with each other. If you hadn't set your sights on a more promising man back then, you would never have been willing to part with him. In my previous life, I only learned the reason why Song Xiaowei and Pei Lin Zhou broke up just before I died. It wasn't because I was with Pei Lin Zhou, it was because Song Xiaowei had another man and wanted to climb a different social ladder. It's just that her judgment wasn't great. The man she chose ended up becoming a prisoner, which is why she started looking back at her old flame. In my past life, I felt sorry for Pei Lin Zhou and didn't tell him the reason, but in this life, I won't be that foolish. I looked at Song Xiaowei with a cold sneer. I know all about your dirty little secrets. You're just making the wrong choice now, so you're running back to Pei Lin Zhou, who's been promoted, to play the victim and try to win him back. I don't mind if you and Pei Lin Zhou rekindle your old flame, but you'd better behave yourself. Don't do anything useless. If you piss me off, I'll expose all your dirty secrets and see how you keep acting so arrogant. You exposed for the filth in her heart. Song Xiaowei flushed red with anger. Wu Duo, you're spreading rumors. You know that. I'm warning you. If I hear even a hint of anything that harms me, you're dead. Is that so? Then we'll wait and see. Song Xiaowei stomped her feet angrily and left, while I went to the kitchen to cook noodles for dinner. As I cooked the noodles, I couldn't help but find it strange that Pei Lin Zhou had been missing for 2 days, and even his beloved Song Xiaowei had no idea where he was. Isn't that just too strange? Pei Lin Zhou lay in the hospital bed on an 4-drip. After being ignored by Wu Duo that night, he had sat outside alone all night, caught a chill, and developed a high fever. With a fever of 40 degrees, lying in the hospital in a daze, Pei Lin Zhou couldn't tell whether it was reality or a dream. He actually dreamed of something unbelievable. Wu Duo was pregnant, gave birth, and died in the hospital. He was busy taking care of Song Xiaowei, who had attempted suicide. When Wu Duo and the child died, by the time he received the news and rushed to the hospital, all he saw were the cold bodies of Wu Duo and the child. The dream was too vivid and too cruel. Pei Lin Zhou shuddered and abruptly sat up. He gasped for breath in large, ragged gulps. The guard, hearing the commotion, immediately came over to check on him with concern. Pei Lin Zhou wiped away his cold sweat and asked the guard, "What time is it now?" The guard told Pei Lin Zhou it was Monday morning. Pei Lin Zhou was shocked. "Have I been asleep for a full 2 days?" "Yes, you've been running a high fever and unconscious the whole time." "What about Wu Duo?" Pei Lin Zhou asked. "She wasn't notified, so she probably doesn't know you're sick yet." Pei Lin Zhou rubbed his forehead and took a sip of water, but his mind still couldn't settle. Everything he had just dreamed felt too real, as vivid as if it had actually happened. He didn't believe such a thing could happen, yet an inexplicable worry lingered in his heart. He had been unconscious in the hospital for 2 days, yet Wu Duo was nowhere to be seen, something that had never happened before. After all, Wu Duo used to keep a constant watch over him all day long, knowing exactly how many cups of water he drank and how many bowls of rice he ate each day in the military. Now, with him sick for 2 days, Wu Duo hadn't shown the slightest concern or even bothered to visit. It was truly abnormal. Come to think of it, Wu Duo had changed quite a bit recently. Before, she would wait for him at the military gate every day, walk home with him, and prepare delicious meals for him. These past few days, Wu Duo had never once gone to the military base to look for him, and when he stormed out in anger, she didn't even bother to ask or care. When he took the initiative to do that kind of thing, Wu Duo even found him repulsive. Pei Lin Zhou thought back to that night when he was bitten and kicked off the bed by Wu Duo, and his heart felt anything but pleasant. How did Wu Duo suddenly become a different person? She must be angry with me, right? After all, the way he had the guards treat her so roughly that day, anyone would be angry. Pei Lin Zhou deeply regretted his previous actions. When the guard said he would go back and ask Wu Duo to take care of him, Pei Lin Zhou surprisingly agreed. He is now desperately eager to see Wu Duo. Pei Lin Zhou thought, Wu Duo likes him so much, she must be very worried upon hearing that he is sick, right? She will definitely rush to the hospital to see him right away. When the time comes, he will find an opportunity to make things clear with Wu Duo, and from now on, he will live a good life with her. Pei Lin Zhou still didn't come back last night. This morning, after having breakfast, I went to work at my unit. On the way, I saw Pei Lin Zhou's orderly, Xiao Zhou, rushing over in a hurry. "The regiment commander is sick. You should go to the hospital to see him." Xiao Zhou, just like Pei Linzhou doesn't like me. His tone when speaking to me was stiff and cold. Is Pei Linzhou sick? How rare, now that he's sick, he remembers me and sends Xiao Zhou to fetch me to take care of him. Does he think I'm his nanny? I'm not that cheap, I sneered. I don't have time to see him, I have to work. Xiao Zhou's face flushed red with anger at my words. Is your job more important than our team leader's health? To me, making money is the most important thing, nothing else matters. After I said that, I suddenly remembered Song Xiaowei looking for Pei Linzhou yesterday. And immediately added, you go and tell Song Xiaowei to take care of your regiment commander. With Song Xiaowei looking after him, your commander will recover quickly. Xiao Zhou glared at me angrily. Are you going or not? I'm not going. I refused and turned to leave. After walking a few steps, I saw Song Xiaowei coming from the opposite direction. I stopped Song Xiaowei. Aren't you looking for Pei Linzhou? Pei Linzhou is sick and waiting for you to take care of him in the hospital. Song Xiaowei, hearing me say this, anxiously followed Xiao Zhou and left. Pei Linzhou had been waiting for Wu Duo to appear ever since he sent Xiao Zhou to fetch her. The waiting time felt endless. As he waited for Wu Duo, he kept checking the time, thinking about Wu Duo's reaction. She must be very anxious upon hearing that I'm sick, right? Pei Linzhou remembered when he was injured and hospitalized during a mission. Wu Duo rushed over upon hearing the news. Her clothes were even on inside out. She threw herself on him as soon as she entered the room, sobbing uncontrollably. At the time, he found it annoying and felt her behavior was embarrassing. Now, looking back, Wu Duo was just concerned about him. It was her worry for him that made her so flustered and lost. What will Wu Duo's reaction be this time? Will she cry? If she cries, he definitely won't scold her. He will surely hold her in his arms and comfort her. Pei Linzhou thought, growing more and more eager for Wu Duo to appear, when hurried footsteps echoed from the corridor outside. It seemed like I heard Xiao Zhou's voice. It must be Wu Duo coming to see me, he thought to himself as the ward door was pushed open. Wu Duo. Pei Linzhou's following words were cut short, as the person who entered was not Wu Duo, but Song Xiaowei. Song Xiaowei looked at Pei Linzhou lying in bed with an four drip, her heart aching so much that her eyes turned red. Why didn't you tell me you were sick? It's nothing serious, just a minor cold. Pei Linzhou replied dejectedly, you're lying. I just asked Xiao Zhou, and he said you had a fever of 40 degrees and were on an 4 for 2 days. How could you suddenly get such a high fever? As Song Xiaowei spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. Pei Linzhou frowned, visibly displeased. He had asked Xiao Zhou to call Wu Duo. How could Xiao Zhou mess things up and bring Song Xiaowei instead? If Wu Duo found out, she'd definitely be angry again, wouldn't she? Thinking to herself, Song Xiaowei's gaze fell on Pei Linzhou's hand receiving the 4 drip, where a very prominent scar was visible. How did you injure your hand? Pei Linzhou felt extremely irritated by Song Xiaowei's concern. Without answering her question, he directly said to her, I'm fine, you can go back. Song Xiaowei cooed sweetly, I'm worried about you. Last time when I was sick, you stayed with me all night. Today, I'll stay with you too. I don't need you to stay, I have a wife. If anyone should stay with me, it should be her. Just moments ago, Pei Linzhou had been thinking a lot. Over the past 5 years of marriage, he had indeed neglected Wu Duo in many ways. He had been helping Song Xiaowei out of guilt all this time. Wu Duo must have been deeply hurt by it. Right, from now on, I should try to keep my distance from Song Xiaowei to avoid any misunderstandings with Wu Duo. Pei Linzhou's rejection left Song Xiaowei looking rather displeased. This was the first time Pei Linzhou had referred to Wu Duo as his wife in front of her. Has Pei Linzhou fallen for Wu Duo? This is not good at all. She absolutely cannot allow Pei Linzhou to fall for Wu Duo. Song Xiaowei felt very anxious inside, forcing a smile as she said, but Wu Duo is unwilling to come take care of you. What? I don't know the reason either, but Wu Duo really is unwilling to come take care of you. If you don't believe me, ask Xiao Zhou. Pei Linzhou's gaze turned to Xiao Zhou, who angrily took over the conversation. I told Wu Duo about your illness, and she refused to come to the hospital to see you. Pei Linzhou couldn't believe it. How is that possible? Did you not explain it clearly? No, I explained it very clearly. Wu Duo said she doesn't have time, she has to work, and earning money is the most important thing to her. Hearing Xiao Zhou say this, Pei Linzhou felt a suffocating lump in his chest, unable to rise or fall over there. Song Xiaowei's eyes lit up as she immediately chimed in, I wonder what Wu Duo has been up to these past few days. I've noticed she's been getting pretty close to Comrade He, even giving him the family bicycle. Wasn't that bike yours? Oh, and she also gave Comrade He a few new pieces of clothing. Upon hearing Song Xiaowei's words, Pei Linzhou's anger flared up, and he yanked the 4-needle from his hand. Let's go home. Ignoring the fact that he hadn't fully recovered, Pei Linzhou rushed home. Pushing the door open, he was met with an empty house. And for a moment, he thought he had walked into the wrong place. The wardrobes and cabinets at home were all gone, and the bicycle was missing too. His clothes were all scattered messily on the guest room bed, and Pei Linzhou's gaze fell on his own clothes. Several of the sweaters Wu Duo had knitted by hand were missing. So had Wu Duo really given the sweaters she knitted for him to Comrade He didn't believe Wu Duo would do such a thing. There must be something wrong here. Pei Linzhou forced himself to calm down as he pushed open the door to the master bedroom. At a glance, he noticed the wedding photo that had hung above the headboard was gone without a trace. It was a photo Wu Duo had insisted on taking with him when they got married, one she treasured dearly, wiping it carefully every day as it hung above the bed. Now the wedding photo was unexpectedly missing. What had Wu Duo done with it? Still recovering, Pei Linzhou leaned against the bedroom door to catch his breath, his gaze inadvertently falling on the trash can. Why did those fragments in the trash can look so much like wedding photos? Song Xiaowei, who had followed him back, also saw it. She quickly picked up the fragments from the trash can, covering her mouth. Oh my god, isn't this your wedding photo with Wu Duo? Why is it all cut up? What is Wu Duo trying to do? Yes, what is Wu Duo trying to do? Pei Linzhou wanted to know too. His head was splitting with pain, but he couldn't figure it out. Over there, Song Xiaowei added another sentence. Could it be that she has her eyes on Comrade He? What nonsense are you talking? Pei Linzhou sternly cut her off. Song Xiaowei's eyes glistened with tears. I'm not talking nonsense. Comrade He and Wu Duo are from the same hometown. You probably haven't noticed that Comrade He has been helping Wu Duo with things all along. I've run into Comrade He helping Wu Duo move coal briquettes several times, and he even carried bags of rice upstairs for her. They were always chatting and laughing together. Oh, and I heard that Comrade He used to have feelings for Wu Duo. A loud bang cut off Song Xiaowei's words. Startled, she looked over and saw Pei Linzhou's hand covered in blood. He had just punched the doorframe in a fit of rage, and the impact had dented it. Linzhou, your hand, you're hurt. Song Xiaowei looked at Pei Linzhou's bloodied hand with heartache. Reaching out to steady the unsteady man, Pei Linzhou shoved Song Xiaowei aside and headed straight for the trash can, catching her off guard and sending her tumbling to the ground. She cried out in pain, tears welling up in her eyes. It hurts so much. In the past, whenever she cried out in pain, Pei Linzhou would rush over anxiously to check on her, but this time, no matter how many times Song Xiaowei called out, Pei Linzhou turned a deaf ear. He mechanically walked over to the trash can, crouched down, and pulled out the torn pieces of the wedding photos, intending to piece them back together, but Wu Duo had cut them too finely. He had no idea where to start. Filled with rage and anguish, Pei Linzhou staggered to his feet, took only 2 steps, and then collapsed, dizzy and disoriented. My main task at the office today was to sell off my job. I heard that several colleagues came to ask me about the price when they learned I wanted to sell my job. I haven't decided on a specific price yet, to be honest. My job is a cushy position, it's easy and the pay is good. I want to sell it for a higher price so I'll have enough capital to start a business. During lunch, Comrade He came to find me, saying his sister had come up from their hometown. He brought me some local specialties, and Comrade He mentioned that his sister had just graduated from college and was waiting for a job assignment. Hearing Comrade He say this, I asked about his sister's situation. He told me that his sister had studied finance and accounting. My eyes lit up. What a coincidence. Come to think of it, in the 5 years since I married Pei Linzhou, Comrade He has helped me out quite a bit. We're from the same hometown, and Comrade He is a really good person. While Pei Linzhou was busy running around for Song Xiaowei, it was Comrade He who kept helping me. He helped me haul the coal briquettes back and arrange them, and carried the rice upstairs for me. He fixed the leaking water pipe for me and repaired the window that was smashed by hail. I discussed selling my job with Comrade He, who was quite surprised. You're giving up such a good job. I am. I plan to leave here and head south. I vaguely told Comrade He that I was leaving, without specifying the exact reason. Comrade He was aware of the situation between me and Pei Linzhou. Without asking further out of sympathy, I had originally planned to sell the job for 5,000 yuan, but for Comrade He, I only charged 3,000. Comrade He said 3,000 was too little and insisted on giving me 4,000. I firmly refused, and in the end, Comrade, he compromised and gave me 3,500. Comrade, he was very grateful that I gave the job to his sister and specially brought her along to treat me to a meal. After finishing the meal and returning home, I was shocked to see Song Xiaowei rummaging through my house. The house was in complete disarray, with Song Xiaowei acting like a bandit. Both the bedroom and living room had been turned upside down, and belongings were scattered everywhere. Seeing the mess, I was furious and demanded, "What are you doing in my house?" Song Xiaowei looked up at me with a smug expression and said, "Lin Zhou told me to come back and pack my things. Is it really necessary to make such a mess while packing?" I looked at Song Xiaowei with displeasure. With no outsiders around, Song Xiaowei dropped her fragile act and sneered, "Wu Duo, Lin Zhou asked me to accompany him to the hospital. Don't you have any thoughts about that? Aren't you two together all the time anyway? There's no need to specifically tell me this. I'm not interested." Seeing my cold and calm attitude, Song Xiaowei was surprised, looking me up and down. "You seem like a completely different person lately, Wu Duo. Are you on the wrong medication?" "You're the one on the wrong medication, let me tell you, Song Xiaowei. You don't need to come and tell me what you're planning to do. I'm not interested in whatever is going on between you and Pei Linzhou. Really not interested." Song Xiaowei sneered, "Wu Duo, you don't actually think that by playing the turtle and hiding in your shell, you can secure your position as the troop leader's wife, do you? Think again. Let me tell you, Lin Zhou has never liked you, not even a little bit." I looked at Song Xiaowei with an expressionless face. "I know that, Pei Linzhou likes you, that's common knowledge. You didn't have to come all this way just to tell me that, did you?" Seeing that I truly wasn't the least bit angry, Song Xiaowei clearly grew anxious. "That's right. Lin Zhou has always liked me. For the past 5 years, he's been thinking of me every single moment. He knows all my preferences, he cares for me deeply, and he's been constantly finding ways to help me." Song Xiaowei took a breath. "Remember that day when Lin Zhou snatched your money and gave it to me? I just casually told a lie, and he believed me, eagerly handing your money over to me. Wu Duo, don't you think you're quite pathetic compared to me?" I nodded to show I understood. "Are you done? If you're done, you can leave." I motioned for Song Xiaowei to get lost. Seeing that I still wasn't angry, a flash of resentment crossed her eyes. She suddenly charged toward me. I saw a murderous glint in her eyes and instinctively dodged to the side. I was standing at the doorway, with the staircase right outside. Song Xiaowei's intention was likely to push me down the stairs, but I moved aside in time, and Song Xiaowei, unable to stop herself, tumbled down instead. A loud thud echoed in my ears, followed by a heart-wrenching scream. I stood at the top of the stairs, looking down to see Song Xiaowei lying face down, a pool of blood spreading beneath her. Hearing the commotion, the neighbors all came over, and together they sent Song Xiaowei to the hospital. Song Xiaowei was seriously injured. When she fell, it just so happened that she landed directly on a branch, which pierced through one of her eyes. The doctor said that Song Xiaowei's one eye is completely useless. I felt very sorry to hear that. How could such a thing happen? Why didn't this happen in my previous life? Hearing that Song Xiaowei was injured, Pei Linzhou rushed over in his hospital gown. In front of so many people, he furiously scolded me. "Wu Duo, what on earth are you making a scene about? Why are you acting so outrageously?" "Not me, it was her." "You're still trying to deny it. If it wasn't you, then who could it be? Who else could be as heartless and cruel as you?" Pei Linzhou believed I was the one who pushed Song Xiaowei and yelled at me. "Wu Duo, what you're doing is a crime. You're going to jail for this." I looked at Pei Linzhou, enunciating each word clearly. "I know you care about Song Xiaowei. I know you're worried and acting rashly, but Pei Linzhou, slandering someone casually is also a crime. I will never admit to something I didn't do." Pei Linzhou and I were at each other's throats when the doctor came out to announce that the surgery was over. Song Xiaowei had lost an eye, and Pei Linzhou accompanied her to the ward as she lay unconscious. I didn't linger at the hospital, turning around and leaving. Song Xiaowei woke up the next day and immediately accused me of intentionally harming her, still shouting about wanting to put me in jail. For a while, news about my favorite, Song Xiaowei, was spreading everywhere. I was handling procedures at the office, and my colleagues whispered among themselves when they saw me. I pretended not to see it. The truth will prevail. How Song Xiaowei fell down the stairs isn't something she alone can decide. I spent a week handling the resignation handover procedures. Comrade He's sister was very clever and had a strong ability to adapt. She quickly became proficient in the work, and I could leave with peace of mind. On the day I left the unit, I went to the train station and bought a ticket, planning to depart the next day. When I got home, I found Pei Lin Zhou, whom I hadn't seen for days. Actually at home, Pei Lin Zhou looked much thinner. He was sitting in the living room smoking, the haze filling the entire space, and the ashtray was overflowing with cigarette butts. I ignored Pei Lin Zhou and went straight into the bedroom to pack my things. I didn't have much to take with me when I left, just some money and a few changes of clothes. I was tidying up when Pei Lin Zhou pushed the door open and came in. Wu Duo, go to the hospital and apologize to Xiao Wei. Why should I? Because you hurt her. I couldn't help but laugh. I won't apologize. Tell Song Xiaowei not to miscalculate. How can you be so stubborn? How dare you act so self-righteous? After hurting someone, don't you know that this is intentional harm and could land you in jail? Then let Song Xiaowei call the police and have me arrested. I won't apologize anyway. Both you and Song Xiaowei can give up on that idea. Are you sure you won't apologize? Wu Duo, my patience is limited, I said. If I'm guilty, let the police come and arrest me. Fine, this is your choice, so don't blame me, Wu Duo. I'll give you 2 hours to think it over. Pei Lin Zhou stormed off in a rage. I continued calmly packing my things. 2 hours later, someone knocked on the door of Pei Lin Zhou's and my room. I opened the door to find 2 police officers standing outside. 2 police officers formally showed me their identification and asked me to assist in the investigation regarding Song Xiaowei's fall down the stairs. I calmly followed the police to the station. The police questioned me thoroughly, and I insisted that I had not pushed Song Xiaowei. Naturally, the police did not believe my account. Song Xiaowei has accused you of pushing her, causing severe injury. She has lost sight in one eye. You should know this constitutes a serious injury, a level 7 disability. According to our country's laws, you could face criminal liability, with a sentence ranging from 3 to 10 years in prison. I insisted that I did not push Song Xiaowei. I have witnesses to prove that Song Xiaowei fell on her own. She has falsely accused me. I will hold her accountable for her false accusations. The police took this matter very seriously and summoned my witnesses. Song Xiaowei never dreamed that her scheme to frame me would backfire so badly, nor did she expect that there were witnesses present at the time. The witnesses were none other than Comrade He, her sister, and 2 leaders from my workplace. That evening, out of gratitude for helping his sister secure a job, Comrade He invited me to dinner. It wasn't just me, 2 of my unit's leaders also attended. During the meal, we discussed the job transfer arrangements. The leaders instructed me to stamp and sign the documents. I went home to fetch my personal seal. Comrade He, his sister, and the unit leaders followed me back. They were right behind me as I went upstairs. Then they overheard my argument with Song Xiaowei. Everyone had heard about the situation between Song Xiaowei and Pei Lin Zhou, so they tacitly agreed not to go upstairs, instead waiting below. Song Xiaowei didn't go out, thinking I was alone, so she said so many harsh things to me. She even tried to push and harm me, but ended up suffering the consequences of her own actions. Everything was explained clearly, and the truth came to light. I was acquitted and released. Being summoned by the police delayed me for a whole day, and my train ticket was about to expire. After leaving the police station, I rushed home to pack my things and hurried to the train station. Fortunately, I managed to board the train just as it was about to depart. Setting down my luggage and taking a seat, I let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a voice calling out came from the platform. Wu Duo, Wu Duo. Through the train window, I saw Pei Lin Zhou's figure. He stood anxiously on the platform, shouting my name and urgently saying something to the station staff. The train had already departed, and Pei Lin Zhou could do nothing but watch anxiously in the direction of the train. My gaze met his through the window. He waved at me, saying something with his mouth. I turned my head indifferently, cutting off eye contact with Pei Lin Zhou. Wu Duo left, just like that, without even saying goodbye. Pei Lin Zhou got the news and chased after her to the train station, only to see the train slowly pulling away. He locked eyes with Wu Duo, who was sitting by the window in the train car. He waved frantically at Wu Duo, urgently signaling for her to get off the train, but Wu Duo simply withdrew her gaze indifferently. The train departed. Wu Duo was gone too. Pei Lin Zhou returned in a daze, never expecting things with Wu Duo to turn out this way. He had thought about building a good life with Wu Duo, about treating her well, but Wu Duo no longer wanted to stay by his side. Wu Duo sold her job and left him without a trace of hesitation. Pei Lin Zhou never dreamed things would unfold like this. He had always thought it was Wu Duo who pushed Song Xiaowei down the stairs. He immediately went to Song Xiaowei and asked her to let Wu Duo off. Song Xiaowei agreed to let Wu Duo go, out of respect for him. However, she had one condition: Wu Duo had to apologize. Pei Lin Zhou breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Wu Duo didn't have to go to jail, apologizing was a small matter. He never expected Wu Duo to refuse to apologize. Her lack of appreciation made Pei Linzhou furious. He notified the police, asking them to put pressure on Wu Duo. He didn't intend to harm Wu Duo. He just wanted to scare her. The outcome was far from what he had imagined. Wu Duo actually had a witness. Song Xiaowei had brought it upon herself. The truth was infuriating, and Pei Linzhou realized he had wronged Wu Duo. He intended to apologize to Wu Duo, but she had quietly left without a word. He and Wu Duo are husband and wife. Wu Duo cannot leave him, and no matter where she goes, he will find her. Unfortunately, what happened next left Pei Linzhou dumbfounded. Wu Duo and he had actually never registered their marriage. He and Wu Duo clearly submitted their marriage report. They are legally married. Why is there no registration information for them at the Civil Affairs Bureau? Pei Linzhou suddenly remembered something. Back then, it was his younger sister, Pei Xiaomei, who had gone to collect their marriage certificate on their behalf. Later, Pei Xiaomei said there had been an accident. Their marriage certificate had fallen into the water and been washed away. At the time, he hadn't paid much attention to the matter. Now that I think about it, there must be something fishy going on. Pei Linzhou immediately went back to find Pei Xiaomei, faced with Pei Linzhou's questioning. Pei Xiaomei didn't dare to hide the truth. Pei Xiaomei said she was angry that Wu Duo had schemed against Pei Linzhou and broken up Pei Linzhou and Song Xiaowei, so she used Pei Linzhou's name to secretly retrieve their marriage report after Wu Duo submitted it. To avoid being discovered, she even took the initiative to get the marriage certificate for Pei Linzhou and prepared an excuse for its loss. Pei Linzhou was furious, demanding to know why Pei Xiaomei had done such a thing. Pei Xiaomei told Pei Linzhou the truth. It turned out that all of this was actually Song Xiaowei's idea. Song Xiaowei and Pei Xiaomei are best friends. It was Song Xiaowei who made Pei Xiaomei do this, leaving Pei Linzhou both furious and resentful. Through Pei Xiaomei's account, Pei Linzhou finally learned that Song Xiaowei had done many excessive things behind his back, all targeting Wu Duo. He was angry and enraged, but it was of no use. What surprised Pei Linzhou the most was that a man he didn't know suddenly approached him. That man claimed to be Song Xiaowei's boyfriend. That man told Pei Linzhou many things he had never known before. It turned out that while Song Xiaowei was exchanging heartfelt letters with Pei Linzhou, she had already been involved with another man. She never once thought about being with Pei Linzhou from the start. At that time, Pei Linzhou was just a low-ranking soldier with no promising future. Song Xiaowei looked down on Pei Linzhou. She wanted to climb the social ladder, so she secretly found another man behind his back. Unfortunately, her luck wasn't great. The high branch she tried to climb broke when the man got into trouble and was arrested. While Pei Linzhou's official career soared all the way, Song Xiaowei was meticulous and cunning, always having a backup plan ready for herself. So when her attempt to climb the social ladder didn't work out, she immediately set her sights on Pei Linzhou. The so-called incident where Wu Duo schemed against Pei Linzhou was actually orchestrated by Song Xiaowei. To make Pei Linzhou remember her and to free herself from him, she plotted against both Pei Linzhou and Wu Duo. Pei Linzhou, upon learning the truth, was utterly enraged. He had actually been played for a fool by such a woman. He hated Song Xiaowei to the core. He would never let Song Xiaowei off easy. Song Xiaowei, now blind in one eye, remained unaware that her entire past had been completely exposed. She knew she had lost all her capital with her blindness. Song Xiaowei was in the hospital, planning how to scheme against Pei Linzhou and firmly secure his hold. She knew that Pei Linzhou and Wu Duo had not registered their marriage and were not legally husband and wife. For the sake of her future, Song Xiaowei decided to take a desperate risk. She used a trick on Pei Linzhou when he came to see her. She waited for someone to discover her affair with Pei Linzhou, but when she opened her eyes, she found the man lying beside her wasn't Pei Linzhou. It was the man she had once tried to climb up to. Song Xiaowei was forced to marry the man she had once aimed for. After being released from prison, the man had nothing left, a bad temper, and a habit of hitting people. On the very first night after Song Xiaowei and the man registered their marriage, she was beaten. From then on, endless domestic violence awaited her, and Pei Linzhou, after confirming that the woman he had protected for so many years was such a person, felt deeply regretful. He felt he had wronged Wu Duo and hated himself for failing to see her true nature. While leading a mission, his mind was wandering and his attention was unfocused, resulting in an injury that cost him a leg and led to his discharge and return home. Many years later, Pei Linzhou, now alone in the world, saw a familiar figure on television. The woman who once had eyes only for him now appeared on screen, poised and capable. She had become the chairman of a corporate group, managing a company worth billions. She had a husband who loved her, two adorable children, and a perfect family. Seeing this